In this lesson, we will continue our philosophical inquiry into the Indian thinkers. We will be briefly looking at Mahatma Phule and Mahatma Gandhi's conceptualization of education. As I did in the previous lesson, we will not be going into the details of their ideas because you've already read about them in your course, and anyway there is plenty of literature available on their ideas in almost all Indian languages. So, we will primarily focus on the broad contours of their idea and the pedagogical implications of these ideas. We will look at Jyotirao Phule's ideas first. He saw in education the power to bring about social transformation. And remember, he did this in the extremely conservative milieu of Pune society in the late 19th century. So, he established a school for Dalit girls in 1848, and despite very stiff opposition, as you can imagine, from the society, some of them very prominent members at that, the school made remarkable progress in a very short period of time. And his wife Savitribai Phule supported him in this endeavor completely. She taught in the school that he established, and later on she also worked there as a principal. Now, to Phule, the aim of education should be to create an awareness of the hegemony of the upper classes and castes in all aspects of a moral and social life. And he felt that education should impart this kind of critical thinking and should act as a means of social and cultural revolution. So, what are the pedagogic implications of Phule's ideas? One, again to quote him, he says the institution of caste system is an obstruction to personal growth and hence should be totally eradicated. And he also felt that modern education as in the Western system of education, which had no direct relation to religion, should be the true foundation for reforms in India. And he also placed a lot of importance to Western science. The curriculum in his school therefore comprised primarily of reading, grammar, arithmetic, natural science, history and map reading. And the school ensured freedom. The girls were free to express their views, and a very conducive environment was created for learning. Phule primarily advocated science and Western education to tackle the widespread superstitions and the deeply entrenched, unexamined belief systems in our country at that point in time. And he had dealt with the issue of girl-child education and education of the oppressed castes almost 150 years ago. And as we saw, we are still grappling with some of these social justice related issues in our country now. We will look at Mahatma Gandhi's ideas. I quote Gandhi here. He says, "By education, I mean an all-round drawing out of the best in child and man's body, mind and spirit." Gandhiji was highly critical of the homogeneity that the schooling offered and its coercive power on children, which he said was an affront to human dignity. By coercive, he meant the strict disciplinary measures that were taken up in schools. Now, some of the highlights of the Gandhian system of basic education. One, of course, he valued dignity of labor, and virtue was of utmost importance to him. And he believed in building on an integral relationship between one's own language and culture and self-identity. Now, if you look at the present day education context, we are still battling the conundrum of the medium of instruction. So, where is this idea of self-identity that is deeply tied to one's language and culture that all these thinkers, and like the other thinkers that we discussed earlier, Gandhi also placed a lot of importance for being creative in the both in the mental and the physical spheres. And he strongly felt that there was a need for spiritual education, cultivating the spirit, as he called it. And he placed prominence to a pluralistic approach to religious studies. He felt that in a deeply religious country like India, we just cannot afford to diverse schooling from religion. So, he said the best of what each religion preaches. So, primarily all religions ask us to be compassionate, all religions propagate peace and harmony. So, he wanted these core teachings of religions to be taught in schools. And he also strongly felt that schools should be self-supporting. At that point in time when he proposed this idea, there was a lot of opposition in terms of how can we commercialize children's activities. So, the whole idea of Gandhi basic education was that education should revolve around a work. So, a work should be chosen with which the children are familiar, so from the community, and the studying of subjects should evolve from this work. And he felt that the quality of that the schooling offered could be measured by the salability of the products that the children prepared in the school. And he felt that money can be used in running the school and make them self-supporting. Schools should not depend on the government for funding. Many people did oppose him then. He said it is equivalent to child labor. But this was Gandhi's answer, and I quote him: "My plan to impart primary education through the medium of village handicrafts will provide a healthy and moral basis of relationship between the city and the village." So, he felt the city people were not creating things and they were living as parasites of the villagers, whereas the villagers were creating stuff but not earning enough for it. So, he wanted to break these barriers, and he felt using handicrafts as a medium of instruction could help bridge some of these gaps. Professor Krishna Kumar has pointed out that the pedagogy Gandhi offered had immense emancipatory power, because the knowledge base that Gandhiji was supporting was to come from the marginalized communities. So the crafts people, although their crafts were valued, it was not considered as mainstream knowledge. So traditionally the knowledge that was in the school curriculum came from the so-called the upper caste knowledge. So Gandhi's pedagogy basically wanted to turn this around. He wanted to bring the knowledge of the craftspeople center stage, and through that ensure learning of the other disciplinary knowledge that school wanted to impart. But by paying only lip service to Gandhi's rather radical, very broadly conceptualized work-based pedagogy in the form of SUPW or craft work that happens in school, or the rather ill thought out vocational education that we see now, we have really, I feel that we have really frittered away a good chance soon after independence. And the chasm between physical work and schooling is only widening now. However, the NCERT's position paper on work and education tries to redress this problem and offers quite practical suggestions as to how to bring back work center stage into education. So we need to take the position paper quite seriously. Now, when it came to teachers, Gandhi also felt that teacher had to have an impeccable moral character. Like Swami Vivekananda, he too felt that teachers have to be dedicated, skilled in work, and love being with children. And he strongly felt that teacher had to lead by example. Now, I would like you to discuss as a group on these two questions. So, you've heard the broad ideas of these four thinkers, their ideas on education, and you've read some amount of their ideas already as part of your coursework. And I would suggest that you please read more of their original work. So, in the light of what you've already read, I would like you to discuss on what is your takeaway from these four thinkers' ideas. As student teachers, which of these ideas appeal to you most, and why? Why do they appeal to you? So, could you please discuss on these questions and then share your ideas with me?
Yes, ma'am. Real life experience. So first is
but we have to spend time for same, if someone are going to our house and the teacher, they don't understand what teacher is exactly. Without part of spiritual education.
The idea which appealed me most was Mahatma Gandhi's idea, where he promoted handicrafts in the schools at that time. According to me, if we incline such activities even in today's time, we will be able to promote the students who are not very well in education, and this will build students' self-confidence, and they can take that activity or that particular thing as their profession in their future. And by this we can also teach every student to respect every profession. It's because nowadays it's only doctors or engineers who get all the wows and not the rest of them. So they will learn to respect every profession by this. So this is my takeaway today.
So basically dignity of labor. Also, see, you said children who are not good in education. What Gandhi was trying to say is broaden this whole idea of education and not consider only the learning of subjects as education. So, as you said, when we bring in crafts into school, it will not only help a child who is otherwise not academically inclined to gain self-confidence, but also we are promoting the idea that education does not mean just learning of the subject. Education also includes being able to do some work productively. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am much inspired by Tagore's ideas, ma'am. I believe that students should have a first-hand experience. When we are teaching a subject, the student should get an opportunity to feel it, to touch it, at least have a look at it. For example, when we are talking about animals, insects or anything, the student should have a picture of it, like a beetle. He should know how beetle looks like. He should actually see a beetle. When we talk an elephant, he should be able to say elephant is a huge animal. He should have a first-hand experience of it. So I say that a classroom is not a mere four walls. I'm imagining a classroom which is like without four walls. A classroom without four walls should be a appropriate stage for a child to understand much of a subject.
Tagore will certainly be very pleased with your idea of a no-wall classroom.
Ma'am, I like Gandhiji's view where he found a need for the cultivation of the spiritual education and also the pluralistic approach to religious studies. I feel that can be incorporated, that is dire need to the present day situation, and that it can be incorporated in our schools, like having one class per day. Like we were taught as student teachers that we have to incorporate moral values and other values in our teaching in everyday lesson. I feel it is not really possible to do it. Since it is not possible to do it in every class, I feel there has to be a class allotted in a day itself for this religious studies and spiritual education and moral values to be imparted in school.
Okay, you feel that values cannot be integrated in the regular teaching, but we need to set aside a separate period for cultivating of values. Well, that is debatable, highly debatable in fact, because we have been through that cycle. We have had a period when we had a period for value education, but we soon realized that that really does not help inculcate values. So, I suggest that you read the national position paper on education for peace. Values and virtues education is looked at from a broader spectrum of peace, and the position paper gives quite good suggestions on how we can incorporate values within our classrooms.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, according to me, Chithira Phule is the man who stood for girl child education irrespective of the caste system. Even today we find such discrimination between girl education and boy education. His ideas are valid even today, so he appeals more to me.
I know it's rather sad that even after 150 years of Mahatma Phule striving for girl child education, we are still in a situation where we have not been able to achieve universal education for girls across spectrum. So, I am glad that you feel that his ideas have to be taken forward. Yes, we definitely need it.
Ma'am, I feel we find some discrimination not only in education, it's also from the birth of the girl child. That is, even female infanticide is continuing still.
I know. At some point in time we feel the society rapidly moving towards its own destruction. But I would say that schools still do offer hope, and teachers can still play a part in bringing about social change. But that can happen only when she is not left alone, when the society supports her, more importantly when the system which she is working for supports her and respects her and gives her space as a professional.
Well, I really think, ma'am, everyone has to be benefited. That means if we say we are in a profession of doctor, he or she says doctor or engineer, oh wow, doctor, engineer, they'll feel. But when if we say we are a teacher, oh teacher. I mean, this reaction, I mean, the people should understand that everyone, even the doctor or engineer, they are going from out of teacher's hand. They should respect the profession of teacher. What teacher? Without teacher, there is no nation at all. So I want, even I feel, I make my students to value the professions, everyone's profession, and know the important things, what they are really struggling for. And that's my view, ma'am. Thank you.
Exactly. When we are talking about teacher as a probable change maker, it's important that the society respects her for what she is. As you said, right now teaching profession ranks rather low, and as you put it, when we say that we are teachers, the general reaction is, oh, teacher. And if you tell a teacher educator, I mean, most people don't even recognize that there is a profession called teacher education at all. Teachers is something that they understand, but teacher educator is a profession that's not even considered a profession. Yes, I agree, and I'm glad that you brought it out. It's important that teachers gain respect of the society, because respect doesn't come to us. We will have to strive to gain that respect, and I'm sure collectively we can all bring the respect that a profession certainly deserves and has long been deprived of. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.